All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive today. We're going to take a trip through the human heart, get right into the mechanics of it all. We're talking the cardiac cycle, all the events that happen, in a
That
single heartbeat. And believe it or not, our main source today is actually a physiology handout by Dr. Rasha Eldeeb. Now, I know what you're thinking. A handout, how exciting can that be? But trust me on this. This stuff is seriously fascinating.
Oh, yeah, it really is. Dr. Eldeeb lays it all out so clearly, breaks down this complex process into, understandable pieces.
I like that. Understandable pieces. So before we, really get into the weeds here, give me a mind-blowing fact about the cardiac cycle, something that'll make me look at my own heartbeat differently.
All right, how about this? Your heart actually spends more time relaxing than it does working.
What, really? I always thought the heart was all about, pumping, pumping, pumping. Why is it spending so much time just chilling out?
Well, it all comes down to efficiency. That relaxation phase is called diastole, and it's crucial for a few reasons. First, it lets the ventricles,
Mm.
those lower chambers of the heart, fill back up with blood. It's like recharging for the next pump. And second, this is really key, diastole is like prime time for coronary blood flow.
Coronary blood flow. You mean like the heart's own blood supply?
Exactly. See, when the heart contracts,
Hmm.
those powerful squeezes actually compress the coronary arteries. Makes it harder for blood to get through. But diastole is like the heart's own little spa time. Those arteries can open up, deliver a fresh supply of, oxygen-rich blood.
So it's like athletes in their recovery. The heart's a pro at that. Prioritizing diastole to refill and re-energize. Okay, diastole important. Got it.
All right.
But what about the actual work phase? What was that called again?
Systole.
Mm.
And yeah, it only takes up about a third of the cycle.
Yeah.
But it is jam-packed with action.
All right, walk me through it. Dr. Eldeeb's handout breaks the cycle down into 8 phases.
That's right. We don't need to get into all 8 in detail.
Mhm.
There are definitely some worth highlighting.
Okay, well, give me the highlights then. What are the most mind-blowing moments in this heartbeat symphony?
Well, one that always gets me is isovolumetric contraction. It's this weird paradox where the ventricles are contracting, building up all this pressure, but the volume stays the same.
Hold on, how is that even possible? It's like squeezing a water balloon with both ends tied off. Where does all that pressure go?
That's a great way to think about it. All the valves are closed during this phase, so the ventricles are basically becoming pressure cookers,
Yeah.
getting ready to blast that blood out to the body.
Okay.
And all that pressure buildup causes those atrioventricular valves, the ones between the upper and lower chambers, slam shut.
And that's what we hear as the lub in lub dub, right?
You got it. The beginning of systole. The heart flexing its muscles.
Okay, so what happens next? Those pressure cookers got to release eventually, right?
Oh, they do. That brings us to the maximum ejection phase. The pressure in the ventricles finally surpasses the pressure in the aorta. That's the main artery carrying blood away from the heart. Forces open the aortic valve. It's like a dam bursting open, blood rushing out at incredible speed.
Okay, I'm picturing it. This torrent of blood surging through the aorta. What's happening to the pressure now?
It's shooting up.
Mm.
That peak pressure during this ejection phase is what we measure as systolic blood pressure. But, the story doesn't end there. As the ventricle starts to relax, blood flows out to the rest of the body, the pressure starts to fall.
So it's like a wave, building up and then receding, but I'm guessing there's more to it than that.
There is. As the pressure drops and that aortic valve snaps shut, something really fascinating happens.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What is it?
It's this little dip in the pressure curve called the dicrotic notch. It's subtle, but it marks a key moment. The very end of systole and the beginning of diastole.
Okay, I'm making a note of that. Dicrotic notch, got to remember that. So what causes this tiny dip?
Think of it like a rubber band. When you stretch it and then let go, there's that slight bounce back, right? The aorta does the same thing. It stretches to accommodate that blood flow, and then when the valve closes, it recoils, creating that little notch in the pressure curve.
It's like the aorta has its own mini heartbeat within the bigger heartbeat.
It's incredible, right? And all of this, the pressure surges, the valve slams, the aortic recoil, it all happens in a fraction of a second.
My mind is officially blown, and we're only halfway through the cycle.
Exactly. We haven't even gotten to the details of heart sounds, murmurs, or the other phases of diastole.
All right, I'm ready for more. Let's dive deeper into those details after a quick break.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, we're back and ready to go even deeper into this symphony of the heart. Before the break, we were really getting into the mechanics, all that pressure and flow in the cardiac cycle. But what about the soundtrack? Those heart sounds that
Mhm.
doctors listen to with their stethoscopes.
Yeah, the Lub-Dub Symphony is more than just a simple beat. Those sounds are like clues, telling us what's going on inside.
I'm all ears. We talked about the first and second heart sounds, the lub and the dub, but you mentioned there are actually two more,
Hmm.
ones we usually can't even hear.
That's right, the third and fourth heart sounds. They're usually too quiet to pick up with a regular stethoscope,
Hmm.
but you can hear them with special equipment.
So it's like our hearts are having these secret conversations. Maybe they're gossiping about us.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
But really, though, these quieter sounds, they can be helpful for diagnosis. Like the third heart sound happens during rapid filling, when the ventricles suddenly get all that blood.
So it's like the ventricles are sighing with relief as they fill up.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And the fourth heart sound,
Yeah.
that happens right before, during atrial systole, when the atrial give that last push to get the remaining blood into the ventricles. It's from the vibration of those atrial muscles contracting.
Okay, so we've got these four heart sounds, each one linked to a different part of the cycle. What about murmurs? Those are different, right?
Murmurs are extra sounds. You might hear them described as whooshing or swishing. They can be a sign of turbulent blood flow in the heart.
Turbulent blood flow.
Oh, right.
What causes that? Is it like rapids in a river?
Yeah, you could think of it that way. Instead of flowing smoothly, the blood is hitting obstacles, creating these chaotic currents. It can be caused by a few different things,
Mhm.
but most often it's because of problems with the heart valves.
So if a valve is narrowed or leaky, it disrupts that smooth flow, creates that whooshing sound.
Exactly. And depending on when the murmur happens, during systole or diastole, doctors can get clues about which valve is causing the problem.
It's like a detective story, using sound clues to figure out what's going on.
That's a good way to think about it.
Like-
And just like with a mystery, the more clues we have, the better. That's why, in addition to murmurs, doctors pay attention to the pressure changes happening throughout the cardiac cycle.
Right. We talked about those pressure waves earlier. How do those relate to heart sounds and murmurs?
Well, these murmurs, caused by that turbulent flow, they're actually detectable because they disrupt the normal pressure patterns. For example, a leaky valve might cause a dip in pressure during a time when it should be rising.
So it's like the murmur is messing up the pressure symphony.
Exactly. And by looking at both, the sounds and the pressure changes, doctors can get a much clearer picture.
Okay, so we've got pressure waves, valve actions, heart sounds, even these subtle murmurs, all contributing to this cardiac symphony. It's like a whole orchestra playing together.
I like that, a complex orchestra. And just like an orchestra, there's a conductor, making sure everything's in sync.
The conductor. You mean the heart's electrical system?
Exactly. Remember the SA node? It's like the heart's natural pacemaker, sending out those electric signals, telling the different chambers when to contract and relax.
It's amazing how all of this happens automatically.
It really is. It shows just how complex and efficient the heart is. But even with all this automation, our hearts are still influenced by lots of things.
Like what?
Well, the nervous system plays a big part in regulating heart rate. For instance, when you get stressed or excited, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in, releases hormones that tell the heart to beat faster, pump harder.
That's why our hearts race when we're scared.
Exactly. And on the other side,
Yeah.
you've got your parasympathetic nervous system. Helps calm things down, slows the heart rate.
So it's like this constant push and pull, keeping our hearts beating at just the right pace.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance that's really crucial for our health.
This is all so fascinating. I'm really starting to see the heart as this incredible system, not just a simple pump.
It is, and we've only just scratched the surface here. But maybe it's time to shift gears a bit. Look at some of the bigger implications of all this.
Okay, I'm ready for the grand finale. What does this all mean for us in terms of our health and how we live our lives? It's amazing, isn't it? Thinking about all this action happening in our hearts with every single beat.
It really is. And, we have to remember, the heart doesn't exist in isolation. All this stuff we've been talking about, this cardiac cycle, it has huge implications for our health and how we live our lives.
So what are the key takeaways? Like, what does understanding all this tell us about actually taking care of our hearts?
Well, for one, it really emphasizes how important it is to have healthy blood pressure we were talking about. Those pressure peaks during systole.
Yeah.
And how they're connected to our systolic blood pressure readings.
Right, that top number. So if those peaks are too high consistently, it puts a strain on the heart.
Exactly. Over time, high blood pressure can damage the heart muscle,
Hmm.
increase the risk of heart attacks, strokes, all sorts of serious problems.
So what can we do to keep our blood pressure in a healthy range?
There are a lot of things we can do. Lifestyle changes that make a big difference. Eating a healthy diet, regular exercise,
Yeah.
maintaining a healthy weight, managing stress. All of these can help lower blood pressure.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. But knowing how it all connects to the actual mechanics of the heart, it makes it so much more real. Like I can actually visualize it, those pressure waves calming
I
down.
know what you mean. It's not just abstract numbers anymore. It's about understanding how our choices affect the way our heart functions, every single beat.
So healthy blood pressure, check. What else should we keep in mind?
Another big one is the importance of diastole, that relaxation phase.
Right, the heart spa time. How do we make sure our hearts are getting enough of that?
Well, stress management is huge here. When we're stressed out all the time,
Yeah.
our sympathetic nervous system's going haywire,
Uh-huh.
keeps our heart rate up, reduces that time in diastole.
So basically chronic stress, it's like robbing our hearts of a break.
Yeah, kind of. And over time, that can cause damage. That's why finding ways to manage stress, like mindfulness, exercise, being in nature, it's so important for heart health.
It seems like it all comes back to those healthy habits.
It really does. And it's not just about living longer. It's about living better.
I like that. So we've covered blood pressure, stress, anything else?
Well, remember those heart murmurs we discussed? They can sometimes be a sign of problems with the heart valves. Not all murmurs are serious, but it's always best to get them checked out by a doctor.
Right. Better safe than sorry. Even though murmurs are often subtle, they could be an early warning sign.
Exactly. Early detection is so important.
Well, this has been eye-opening. I have so much more appreciation for my heart now.
Me too. It's a truly remarkable organ. And the more we learn about how it works, the better we can take care of it.
Absolutely. I think that brings us to the end of our cardiac exploration for today.
It's been a pleasure diving into the heart with you.
Likewise. And to all our listeners out there, remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand your body, the better you can support your health.
Couldn't agree more. Give your heart the care it deserves, and it will reward you with a long and vibrant life.
Well said. Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep that heartbeat strong.